Right, let's get into those trending topics, and as you can imagine, those also dominated by the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And as you can see there, the first three all speak to this particular topic. First up, hashtag Queen Elizabeth, then hashtag King Charles, hashtag Andrew, or even the fourth one, hashtag Archie and Lisbeth.
Everything.
But let's talk about that,
yeah,
all of that.
So all of them. I mean, where do we begin? I suppose Queen Elizabeth, everybody talking to it, dying at the age of 96. She was the oldest sovereign in the country's history, but also the longest serving. You know, that's just something that she certainly does have. Just to read a few of the facts, the 42nd of a line of kings and queens of first England, then Britain, then the United Kingdom. I mean, since William the Conqueror, she was also the 6th Queen Sovereign of England and the 4th of the UK. So, I mean, there are so many different aspects to this Queen. She was the Queen and Head of State of 15 countries, stretching from Fiji, Australia, New Zealand, to the Bahamas and Canada. She was head of the Commonwealth of 54 countries, which was 2.1 billion people, a third of the globe's population. So as we say, you know, it doesn't matter which way you look, the Queen has touched the world, and there are views on her in every corner of this world, and those are certainly being shared. But whichever it is, a leader has passed, and it is a definite moment in history that we are looking at right now.
Yeah, and she apparently started showing signs of deteriorating or ill health in October last year after the passing of her husband, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. And they had been married for 73 years.
Unbelievable.
So you can imagine.
Yeah.
And one sees this often, you know, when people have been together for a long period of time and the one passes on, it usually doesn't take long for the other to follow, because it's almost as if they just give up once their life partner.
Indeed, and I mean, we noticed many, you know, through public appearances had stopped, and she really made those public appearances something of a norm for the royal family and royalty. I mean, you would see her all over the place, whether it be at the royal walkabouts or, you know, concerts, royal appearances, on the balconies. And we saw her this week. I mean, in fact, you know, just as she appointed her new Prime Minister. Well, you know, Liz Truss, saw a photograph of her. You know, in that photograph, you could already see that she was ailing. She wasn't looking very well, but still a big smile on her face. You could see, unfortunately, on her hands, there were just lots and lots of... you could see from the drips and all of that were going in, that she was getting medical treatment. And then, of course, the news coming through that she passed away. But, you know, I think a lot of the time she had just fallen off of the public sphere.
Yeah.
But very, very difficult. I mean, it is for the UK and the world to look in on this. And as you saw in our inserts in the news, many people devastated by this. However, there are also many people, and there's no two ways about it, there are two sides of every story, many people celebrating this at the same time and talking about a course of history that, you know, could have been very different under the reign of Queen Elizabeth. And, you know, there's those views as well. So certainly looking at all of those today.
You know, and again, you may be indifferent, you may be unaffected, but celebrating, and that is always difficult for me, regardless, because, you know, in the end, we are all human. And a human being who comes from a family, there are those who will be sad and in mourning, and I suppose my empathy would not allow me, regardless of how I feel of any person, could never allow me to celebrate anybody's death.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But we do see that happening. But we won't dwell on that too much at the moment, as it's all still very, very fresh. But, you know, born into royalty, I mean, I think it came quite as an unexpected occasion that she would eventually be the Queen, because her father was never meant to be the king. But her father's brother abdicated.
Yes.
So then what happened was that he became next in line. And of course, there were no sons or brothers of Queen Elizabeth. She was the eldest, and she was the one that needed to take over. And
at the age of 27.
26, was it?
26,
something like that.
Yeah.
Had to take over. And that was a life calling and commitment that she did until the day she died. Which leads us to the next trend, which is, of course, King Charles. So there we go, King Charles III. Can you believe it? So no longer Prince Charles, he is now King Charles. King Charles III. So that was declared last night, and he now, of course, is is the king.
Yeah,
And
he immediately takes over.
the first king in 70-something years, 71 years, I think. That was how long his mother was the queen for. Many people doubting whether he'd ever make it there, because she was just never, ever going to leave that position. You know, it was never going to be a voluntary step down. So this is how he has made it in there. And of course, the next in line would be William. But
William,
for
exactly.
now, King Charles, that's who we've got, King Charles III.
Exactly, apologies there. And then Andrew.
Oh,
And you know all the controversy and scandal around Prince Andrew. That's been raging for quite some time.
yeah. And the Twitter sphere talking to this as well and saying, okay, now that Mommy Dearest is gone, you know, who's going to protect Prince Andrew? And will he get that same protection that he's been getting, that he did, and many were saying, from his mom, the late Queen? But yeah,
or will he finally be held accountable?
Exactly. So this is what a lot of people are talking to now, and that brings him up as a massive trending topic on social media. So that's that old Prince Andrew. So I mean, you'll remember it's the whole issue around pedophilia and being photographed with young girls, and then there was a case that was going to happen, and that was settled out of court, and then you know that whole drama behind that, and people are still talking to this and not happy at all with Andrew and his legacy, unfortunately.
And then Archie and Elizabeth, and these are the children of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Yeah, indeed they are.
And so they are now automatically Prince and Princess.
Yeah, so they become a prince and princess automatically.
Because Charles is now king.
He's the king. So that happens, and apparently something like, I don't know what has to happen if that needs to be revoked, which, I mean, I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, I don't
they would
think
literally
anyone will
need
do
to
it.
go. King Charles would have to take that on and actually take that away from them, which I mean, not a chance. But that's what it's happened now, is that it's Prince Archie and Prince Lilibet. That's his name, Lilibet. But I think Lisbeth is what people are calling her on social media.
Yeah,
Lisbeth, and not in an affectionate way. I think that's what Lisbeth, when they talk about Queen Elizabeth, they call her Lisbeth. And when you open up that trend, that's where you start seeing, some interesting things being said about the late Queen. But Lilibet is the little princess. So that's Harry and Meghan's daughter, which are now Prince and Princess. So that's the development from there. All right, other trending topics, because you would think that's all that's going on in the world, which is the main focus, but back home, we've still got our own issues to deal with, we really do. So, Bheki Cele, I saw that he was trending this morning as well. Are you picking up anything on him there?
nothing in particular, you know, and of course the police minister would be trending on every other day, but I think of late the Democratic Alliance, you know, really pushing for Minister Bheki Cele to be sacked by President Ramaphosa. They even marched to the union buildings earlier this week, demanding that.
Yeah, and lots of people just posting, I suppose what they're doing is they're posting criminal things and tagging the minister, and someone else saying, one may ask why Minister Bheki Cele met with the so-called leader of the Zama Zama before the shooting happened in the Soweto tavern, if it's true that they met, and why it emerges now Lesotho is too small, our leaders have been sold, I'm not sure. So there's just these videos doing the rounds and people commenting and asking about the minister's meetings and involvements. But yeah, this is social media, so there's always a whole bunch of things that you have to navigate through until you find what the actual story is and what the truth is. So yeah, that's one of the trends. And then our final trending topic that we've got this morning is Senzo Meyiwa. So that's the Senzo Meyiwa trial.
The trial continues, of course, and the second witness now testifying at this trial. But so it continues. It is fortunately finally underway again. Yeah. But there's so much going on within this trial. But hopefully there will now be a sustained period of actually hearing evidence and trying to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. All right, well, there we go. That wraps up our trending topics for this morning. And of course, the question of the day as well, which is focusing in on your thoughts, views, and I suppose tribute to the Queen. If you would like to do that, please do write to us at Morning Live SABC. That's our Twitter handle.
Indeed.